A battle box is a set of 4 commander decks built with each other in mind, balanced against each other, meant to be played against each other, and ideally sharing some kind of theme. And I wanted to do an experiment with this battle box, create 4 different decks in 4 different colors, all trying to do the same thing. In this case, it's poison your opponents, and what I've created is an incredibly fast, incredibly frantic, race to the bottom style game of Commander that I think is one of the most exciting experiences I've had in Commander in some time. And I want to give you all 4 of these brews. Thanks to my new sponsor, Bonebox Games, one lucky viewer is going to walk away with all 4 of these decks, so stay tuned to learn how. Each of these brews are a single color, only $30 and meant to do one thing: poison. While each share some cards like Phyrexian Atlas, Contagion Clasp, or Prosthetic Injector, each has a unique vector to initial infection, whether that be white's artifact creature focus, blue's emphasis on proliferation, green's death touch board control, or black's rat-based toxicity. Each is packed to the brim with toxic, infect, and proliferate. This creates a scenario where, as soon as each player has at least a single poison counter, it's a race. Everyone wants to give their opponents more poison counters than they have. Everyone wants to bargain to save their own hides, and everyone wants to wheel and deal to take out the other players, ideally at the same time. See, the way poison works in Commander is that if you get a poison counter through Infect, Toxic, or any other means, you keep that counter forever. And if a player accumulates 10 poison counters throughout the course of the game, it's game over. Having life totals be essentially 10 rather than 40 makes the game go crazy fast. Each deck in this battle box is tight and concise, balanced and quick. With low mana curves, the emphasis is on these games lasting only 6 or 7 turns maximum, without relying on infinite combos, multiple combat steps, or combat damage in most cases. It's about getting ugly, getting infected, and getting out alive. Let's look at the first of these brews. It's Skrelv Defector-Mite in a deck I call Dyna-Mite. Get it? This little firecracker is the lowest mana value of our commanders, a 1/1 with Toxic 1 that can't block, and grants other creatures Toxic and Hexproof from a color. Very handy when he himself can't get in for damage. But importantly, Skrelv is an artifact creature, which is one of this deck's central themes. Because not only does Skrelv have Toxic, but the new Virulent Silencer can give opponents dealt combat damage by any non-token artifact creature 2 whole poison counters at a time. That can speed the game up a lot if dropped and popped by just 1 to 2 creatures unexpectedly. So we have plenty of artifact creatures in the deck like Swooping Lookout, Cloudsteel Kieran, and Angel of the Ruins to play into this theme, but they don't naturally have Toxic or Infect. Which is where Dune Mover, Plague Mirror, or Annex Sentry come in. Naturally having Toxic or Infect stacks with Virulent Silencer's ability and stacks with Skrelv's activated ability, resulting in upwards of 3 Infects, 3 poison counters for 1 creature dealing combat damage. Yikes! With plenty in the deck caring about artifacts like Voyager Quickwelder, Guidelight Synergist, or Bronze Guardian, you can remain relevant in battle while filling up the board with Phyrexians and robots. This also helps your proliferate engines like Surge Conductor, Throne of Geth, or Recon Craft Theta, allowing you to continue to control the flow of poison counters to your opponents. While pumping out Mite tokens as well thanks to Skrelv's Hive, White Sun's Twilight, or Mite Overseer. You're in no lack of creatures that inherently have Toxic or Infect with this deck. In the battle box, White plays the role of policing the entire board state. Generous Gift, Disenchant, and Return to Dust ensure the scary artifacts or enchantments don't become everyone's problem. While you're also able to stop the board from getting out of control with Slaughter the Strong, Fell the Mighty, and Dusk to Dawn. Only the meek survive against this deck. Better not get too big for the board. And I've ensured that each of the brews in this box have a Haymaker or 2 as well, just in case the game goes longer than expected. White's Haymakers are Brilliant Restoration, getting back almost every single creature from your graveyard straight to the battlefield. And Legion Loyalty, instantly tripling the size of your board army thanks to Myriad, letting you send little Toxic or Infect creatures at opponents at once, ideally giving them their 10th poison counter and taking them out permanently. I've also included an alternate success condition in Mech Titan Core. With so many artifact creatures in the deck, it's entirely possible to create the Mech Titan and, again, possibly win via combat damage too. but consider that the hard way to win in this battle box brawl. I love how resilient this deck is, with ways to recur your artifacts like Iron Soul Enforcer, Sun Titan, or Recommission, meaning you are never really out of the game. And your card draw is actually pretty amazing, with Welcoming Vampire, Tokasha's Welcome, and Mentor of the Meek, meaning your small creatures help refill your hand quickly. Next up in our Poison battle box is blue with Tekuthal Inquiry Dominus. Thanks to a recent Commander Precon printing, this Phyrexian horror is budget-friendly. A 3/5 flyer for 4 mana, he helps us send Proliferate into Overdrive, doubling up on our Proliferation, which is the name of the game in this deck that I call Squid Games. Blue might not be the best at getting initial poison counters onto players to begin with, relying on Blighted Agent, Unctus's Retrofitter, or Prologue to Phyresis to get the ball rolling, but it proliferates better than every other color combined. In this battle box, you can ensure that each opponent is giving each other poison counters, and you get to play with them. Proliferate is how the game devolves when board stalls start occurring, and blue goes from being the least threatening at the start of the game to the most threatening at the close of the game. This deck represents the attrition. It represents the slow proliferation of inevitability. And we aren't just proliferating poison counters. No, we can proliferate our other counters for fun and profit along the way, like the +1/+1 counters on a Market-Back Walker, the rad counters given by a Vexing Radgull, or the oil counters on a Mercurial Spelldancer. The goal here is to get more value than your opponents for actions your opponents are taking. With repeatable proliferation effects like Thrumming Bird, Staff of Completion, or Viral Drake, they work with Tekuthal to go harder, faster, stronger than your opponents can give you poison counters via combat alone. We have plenty of one-time proliferate effects in the brew like Tezzeret's Gambit, Fuel for the Cause, or Radstorm, which can get us enough poison counters on our opponents to kill them each off at once. I like the fact that this brew, in opposition to all the others, is naturally best at regular combat with creatures like Nadir Kraken, Draining Whelk, or Kappa Cannoneer, all serving as some of the entirety of the board's biggest threats. Slapping one of the deck's haymakers, Corrupted Conscience, onto any of these big beefy boys can one-shot knockout for an unlucky opponent that doesn't have a response. Other big threats in the deck are Lux Cannon, which can be blasting the biggest issue on the board every turn thanks to your proliferation tricks. Or Ominous Seas, which can be making an 8/8 every other turn. Or even Chasm Skulker, which can be a big nasty threat when you aren't also proliferating the counters on it repeatedly. Believe it or not, this is the big combat deck that looks to dissuade opponents from attacking you while using Proliferate to increase their poison counters from behind your beefy army. I really like that the fantastic effects like Ripples of Potential are now just on the cusp of budget friendly, covering Proliferate synergies and potentially saving some of your board from the other deck's board wipes, while also being the brew in the battle box with the best mana generation. Believe it or not, Ornithopter of Paradise, Silver Mirror, and Everflowing Chalice can all ramp you multiple turns ahead of opponents. They can be playing 1/1s while you're already dropping 6/6 flyers. With the focus on blue's strengths of stack control rather than board control, you get to play the permissions game with Negate, Reject Imperfection, or Corrupted Resolve, meaning you can be the deciding factor if an opponent wins or you do. Then, in the Poison battle box is an old favorite of mine. It's Fynn the Fangbearer in a deck I call Bite Club. A Bite spell is a fight spell that's one-sided, where only your creature deals damage to an opponent's creature. And since this deck's focus is on Death Touch creatures, it makes those Bite spells all the more powerful. See, Fynn acts like a virulent silencer, but for any of your creatures with Death Touch. This makes him more important than any other commander in the battle box, and this deck's strength and weakness. See, 2 poison counters at once is a lot in this scenario where everyone is getting poisoned at the same time. And with the capability to drop any of those 1-mana Death Touch creatures like a Dragon Sniper, Moss Viper, or Ankle Biter on turn 1, then Fynn on turn 2 and immediately give somebody 20% of their life total in poison, it gets tense fast. See, green doesn't have as many sources of Proliferate, but Evolution Sage may be one of the most consistent Proliferate enablers in the entire battle box. On landfall, we get to proliferate everything from poison to +1/+1 counters, an effect that's very strong with green's already naturally big bodies. Outside of Fynn, green only has a handful of ways to get those initial Infect counters onto opponents. Infectious Bite, Bloated Contaminator, or Noxious Assault being just about it. But your Death Touch creatures are tricky and, with Fynn on the board, can spell doom for one or all opponents very quickly. Clear out a blocker with a Bite spell, attack with a little Death Touch creature, and that can be game over. And that's where some of the standoff, stalemate nature of this box comes from. Do you leave a blocker back to stop yourself from getting another counter, or do you attack in to get more opponents up to more poison counters than you have, making them more of an attractive target to your other opponents? And who's going to stop blue from proliferating everyone to death? Not me, I need to block green's Death Touchers. And that's the role green plays in the box, targeted creature removal and a looming threat that needs to be dealt with. The loaded weapon sitting on the table. But even without Fynn in play, green can play the combat game with pump effects like Blanchwood Armor, Oran Reef, or Sylvan Anthem, making them that much scarier. And surprisingly strong card draw with Beast Whisperer, Toski, and Shaper Sanctuary, which pairs incredibly well with our Bite spells, turning them all into cantrips. Green's Haymakers are all about making combat harder for opponents, like Bellowing Tangleworm making your green creatures almost entirely unblockable, or Kamal, Heart of Kroja, giving your entire board +3/+3 in trample each turn, synergizing very well with Death Touch to ensure your opponents are always getting some kind of infecting creatures or damage through the board. And also a great target for proliferation, Beastmaster Ascension, again making your board of little 1/1 Death Touchers into big beefy boys in no time at all, often entirely by surprise. But be sure to use effects like Snakeskin Veil to protect Fynn, otherwise you're looking to try and take everyone out with combat, and that's slow even with all of your board pumping effects in this battle box. Last in our fearsome foursome is Dirty Rat, a rat-themed deck led by Karumonix, the Rat King. Similar to Fynn, Karumonix gives all of our rats Toxic 1 and refills our hand on enters. Karumonix acts as a good way to get those first poison counters onto opponents, but also a great way to ensure your little rats, token or otherwise, can sneak through. Rats have some surprising synergy enablers, like Piper of the Swarm giving them all Menace, or Ogre Slumlord giving them all Death Touch. This deck is about making your rats more difficult to block and going wider than most opponents can normally. And before you ask in the comments, no, I don't have both Tainted Strike and Crip Rats in the deck. I want to create scenarios where players are forced to win or lose, not draw. That's for cowards. But Blightbelly Rat, Ichor Rats, and Septic Rats are all in the deck, inherently with ways to get poison counters onto opponents without stacking Karumonix toxic granting effects as well. Along with the hard-to-block rats like Stronghold Rats, Wave of Rats, or Old Flitterfang, meaning with your commander in play, it's easy to start getting down with the sickness. With great additions to the rat lineup from Bloomburrow like Valley Rockcaller or Persistent Marshstalker, this brew can go equally as hard on life totals as it can with poison counters. Having a surprising amount of proliferate effects is nice too. Whispers of the Dross, Grim Affliction, and Vraska's Fall all act as removal that also gets your opponents closer and closer to losing the game as you increase their poison counters. Black's role in the battle box is to go wide, bringing volume and persistence to the table. Effects like Revenge of the Rats mean, even after a board wipe, you can rebuild faster and stronger than your opponents can. That emergence means you can return creatures to the battlefield while also progressing poison. And Vat of Rebirth can make for repeated recurrence when you need ways to bring your rats to chump block much bigger threats to protect your precious life. You will never have the biggest attackers on the battlefield, but you'll more than often have the most of them. This is where some targeted removal serves you incredibly well, like Defile, Drown in Ichor, or Tragic Slip, ensuring you can take out those much bigger attackers. Rats are survivors, they never go down with a ship. You also play second to White's board wipes in the balance of the box, with Crippling Fear and Mutilate acting as one-sided or universal board resets. If things are getting scary and you fall behind on your board, or just need to clear the way for a fatal attack, this is where it is. The deck's biggest haymakers are in the form of Patron of the Nezumi, your biggest attacker and one you can cheat out by offering up a rat. A way to tick down life totals as opponents cast spells and lose creatures as well. And Rise of the Dark Realms, now budget friendly, resulting in you leaning further into a go wide with a volume of creatures by adding all creatures in all graveyards to your workforce. Welcome to the team. And I'm very pleased that the recent reprint of Swarmyard has made it budget friendly, meaning we have some ways to save our important rats when facing an imminent end, or to get us a blocker that can save our lives over and over again. With card draw on classics like Phyrexian Arena, flavorful additions like Lord Skitter's Blessing, or new toys like Requiem Monolith, you rival the resource generation of each other deck, especially with big bursts of card draw like on Pact of the Serpent. Who needs that life anyway? We're all getting poisoned here. But you work to get resources back from the graveyard with personal favorites Oversold Cemetery too, meaning the rats can come back over and over and over. Let your opponents rebuild while you take over the board. Playing all 4 of these against each other is thrilling and tense, and honestly, some of the most fun I've had playing Commander in a hot minute. It's a 4-way rock, paper, scissors that can be jammed over and over again, with games rarely taking more than 30 minutes to complete. It makes for an exciting Commander experience. And I hope you're excited about this battle box and these 4 decks because I want you to have them. That's right, thanks to my new sponsor, Bonebox Games, one lucky winner will win each of these 4 decks. You just need to be a public subscriber, like the video, and comment "down with the sickness" along with which of these 4 decks is your favorite and why. I'll be doing a random draw on September 1st, 2025 out of all entries, so pay attention to the channel. Winners will be shared in the pinned comment of this video. All 4 deck lists are linked in the description. Be sure to check them out to determine your favorites. And don't leave without checking out my sponsors like Card Conduit. They are hands down the easiest way to sell your individual Magic cards without the hassle of traditional buy listing. They'll get you top dollar while handling all of the heavy lifting, from sorting to grading to optimizing your price across a huge network of vendors. And they'll give you cold hard cash for it. You can use the promo code MECHANIC right now for 10% off of all fees. If you're looking for a new deck box or playmat for any of your favorite Commander decks, make sure to check out Bonebox Games. These strong and gorgeous deck boxes are the only ones I trust to protect my triple-sleeved, all-foil Too Many Gyrudas deck. You can use my code MECHANIC5 for 5% off your order at boneboxgames.com. And while you're there, take a look at their classic Decay deck box, now back in stock. Bonebox Games, gear with a backbone. And if you want to pick up the cards for this list, make sure to go check out Card Trader. Use my promo code MECHANIC right now for 5% off your order from any TCG. Card Trader's zero system means you can get cards from all over the world with only 1 shipping fee. Save money and time today. Lastly, you can check out all of my decks on Moxfield. Moxfield is the best deck building platform in the world and makes it easy to build decks and search for specific cards with their powerful tools. Have you checked out their drag and drop feature yet? It's revolutionary. Be sure to check out my brews and follow my profile there right now. If you were inspired to brew today, you have to hit that subscribe button. Check out this other deck on my channel right now for more sweet tech. And as always folks, good luck and have fun.